Everyone thinks control means winning arguments or staying strong when life hits hard. But real control is internal. Real power is when your emotions don't dictate your actions. You do. The one who stays calm wins. The one who pauses decides. This audiobook is not about suppressing your emotions. It's about mastering them. Because if you don't master your emotions, they will master you. Let's begin. Absolutely. Here is the full professional audiobook script for Chapter 1. Stop reacting, start responding. Approximately 1,020 words. Authoritative, direct, coaching style. Chapter 1. Stop reacting, start responding. Repetition phrase. You have a choice. Most people don't live their lives, they react to them. Something happens. Someone says something. A look, a tone, a message, and instantly you're triggered. Your emotions take over. Your body tenses. Your words fire before your mind even catches up. That's not control. That's autopilot. And autopilot is how people destroy relationships, careers, and self-respect without even realizing it. You can't master your emotions if you're constantly reacting to everything that touches them. The key is simple but rare. Learn to pause. That pause, that small, powerful space between emotion and action, is where maturity begins. It's where power is built. And it's where your old self dies and your disciplined self begins. You have to remember this truth. You have a choice. Say it again. You have a choice. Every time you feel anger, fear, jealousy, or frustration, there's a space before you respond. That space is everything. That space is called the reaction gap. And the reaction gap is where emotional control lives. When something triggers you, someone insults you, disrespects you, or pushes your buttons, your brain sends an instant emotional surge. That surge wants release. It wants to shout, argue, defend, or lash out. But if you act on that first impulse, you lose. Every single time. Because emotions are like storms. They pass. But your reactions, they stay. That's why you have to build a new rule for your life. Never act in emotion. Only act in control. It's not weakness to pause. It's not cowardice to breathe. It's discipline. It's power. It's you saying, I control me, not my emotions. Let's make this real. You're in traffic. Someone cuts you off. Your body reacts instantly. Heart rate spikes, hands tighten, anger flares. That's the trigger. Now, in that exact second, you have two paths. Path 1, you let the anger win. You honk, yell, tailgate, ruin your peace for the next 10 minutes. Path 2, you breathe, you smirk, you say you have a choice. And you choose silence. That's not small. That's mastery. Because every time you win that micro battle, you rewire your brain for strength. You teach yourself, I am not a slave to what happens. I am the master of how I respond. But let's be honest, most people won't do this. Most people love the drama. They love reacting because it makes them feel alive, even if it makes them weak. They confuse emotional noise with power. But here's the truth. Noise isn't power. Control is. When you react, you give power away. When you respond, you take it back. You don't owe anyone a reaction. You don't owe the world your anger. You don't owe every emotion an answer. You owe yourself peace. You owe yourself clarity. You owe yourself discipline. Every master you admire, every leader, warrior, or thinker had one thing in common. They knew how to pause. They created a gap between what they felt and what they did. And in that gap, they built greatness. Think about it. When chaos hits, most people panic. When pressure rises, they crumble. But the few, the disciplined, do one thing differently. They pause. They observe. They respond with precision. That's what separates a reactor from a responder. A reactor moves from emotion. A responder moves from purpose. Let's talk about what that actually looks like in your life. The next time something irritates you, stop. Don't speak, don't type, don't post, don't respond. Breathe for 2 seconds. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Say silently, I have a choice. Ask yourself 3 questions before you respond. 1. Is this worth my energy? 2. Will this matter tomorrow? 3. Does this reaction serve my peace or my ego? If it's ego, drop it. If it's peace, protect it. That's the formula. You don't need to prove how you feel. You need to control how you move. Understand this. Your emotions will always rise first. That's human. But you don't have to follow them. That's discipline. People who can pause under pressure own the room. They think clearly when others lose control. They see options when others see chaos. It's not about suppressing feelings. It's about mastering response. So the next time you feel the heat, stop saying, I couldn't help it. Yes, you could. You always could. You just didn't choose to. Now you will. Because emotional mastery starts with one simple rule. You have a choice. And here's the real-world truth. The strongest people don't always stay calm because they feel calm. They stay calm because they've trained for it. They've practiced the pause so many times it's automatic. They've built the muscle of restraint. They've replaced reaction with response. That's what you're doing right now, building that muscle. You are learning to pause in conversation. You are learning to breathe when triggered. You are learning to think before you move. That's growth. That's evolution. That's emotional control. So here's your assignment, your training for this week. Every time something triggers you, anything, big or small, don't react instantly. Pause for 2 seconds. Say, you have a choice. Then choose silence. Choose stillness. Choose strength. Because every pause you take is a rep in your emotional gym. Every time you resist the urge to react, you level up. You're teaching your brain who's in charge. Remember, your emotions are not your enemy. They are your energy. They just need direction. And you're the one holding the steering wheel. You are not your anger. You are not your fear. You are not your jealousy. You are the one observing those emotions. That means you're above them. You are not trapped by feelings. You're surrounded by opportunities to prove mastery. So, stop reacting. Start responding. That's the first step to mastering your emotions before they master you. Because from now on, when life hits, you'll pause, you'll breathe, you'll choose, and you'll remember the truth that changes everything. You have a choice. You've learned how to stop living on emotional autopilot. You've learned the power of the pause. Now it's time to go deeper, to understand what truly fuels your emotional strength. You've mastered your reactions. Now let's talk about your energy, because energy is currency, and every reaction spends it. Next chapter, energy is currency. Protect it. Would you like me to continue with Chapter 2, Energy is Currency, Protect It, next, in the same audiobook voice and format, approximately 1,000 words? Absolutely. Here's the full professional audiobook script for Chapter 2, Your Feelings Aren't Facts. Approximately 1,020 words, direct, authoritative, and repetitive tough love tone. Chapter 2, Your Feelings Aren't Facts. Repetition phrase. Feel it, don't follow it. You live in a world that tells you to trust your feelings. That's the problem. Because feelings lie. They shift, they exaggerate, They distort. They take small moments and turn them into permanent identities. You feel tired, so you call yourself weak. You feel afraid, so you say you're not ready. You feel hurt, so you decide you'll never trust again. But here's the truth. Your feelings aren't fact. They're not commands. They're signals. They're information, not instruction. You can feel it, but you don't have to follow it. That's the key. Emotions are data. They tell you what's happening inside you, but they should never decide what happens next. You can acknowledge anger without acting on it. You can feel fear without retreating. You can experience doubt and still move forward. That's discipline. That's control. That's mastery. The undisciplined person obeys every emotion like a slave. The disciplined person observes them like a scientist. When you say, "I feel like quitting," that's data. It means you're tired, stretched, maybe overwhelmed. But the fact is, you've still got work to do. When you say, "I don't feel confident," that's data. It means your mind is seeking safety, not growth. But the fact is, confidence is built after you act, not before. So stop treating emotions as truth. Start treating them as weather. They come, they go. They shift, but they don't define the sky. Think of your emotions like a storm. If you build your life around every change in the weather, you'll never stand tall. You'll bend every time the wind blows. You'll start, stop, run, quit. Because your feelings keep changing and your discipline never roots. That's what separates leaders from followers. Leaders feel everything, but they move anyway. They've learned the skill. Feel it, don't follow it. That's what greatness sounds like. That's what consistency looks like. Let's make it practical. You wake up one morning and you don't feel like working out. Your feelings whisper, "Rest today, you deserve it." But your purpose says, "Discipline over comfort." You don't need to feel motivated, you need to move. You go anyway. That's mastery. That's how ordinary people build extraordinary results. You can't wait to feel like it. The truth is, you'll almost never feel like it. Discipline starts when motivation ends. So the next time you say, "I don't feel like it," remind yourself, you don't need to. You need to act like it. Feel it, don't follow it. History is built by people who acted against their feelings. Marcus Aurelius didn't feel calm when leading through war. He chose calm. Nelson Mandela didn't feel forgiveness after 27 years in prison. He chose forgiveness. Every great leader has one thing in common. They did what was right, not what felt right. That's the difference between a child and a commander. A child obeys emotion. A commander obeys principle. You have to decide which one you are. Are you ruled by impulse or guided by intent? Do you follow feelings or follow focus? Your life will change the moment you stop obeying every emotion that visits your mind. You might say, "But feelings are real." Yes, they're real, but real doesn't mean right. Pain is real, but not every painful thought is truth. Fear is real, but not every fearful story deserves belief. Anger is real, but not every angry response deserves release. That's what emotional maturity is. The ability to feel something fully without letting it take the wheel. You are the driver. Your emotions are the passengers. They can speak, but they don't get to steer. That's emotional control. That's leadership over self. Let's talk about how you build that control. Step 1. Label the feeling. When something hits you emotionally, don't react. Name it. I feel angry. I feel anxious. I feel insecure. Just naming it separates you from it. Step 2. Ask what it's teaching you. What is this emotion trying to tell me? Anger might be showing you a boundary. Fear might be showing you growth.
Doubt might be showing you inexperience. Step 3. Decide your move logically. Ask yourself, what would my disciplined self do right now? Not my emotional self, not my tired self, not my scared self, my disciplined self. And then do that. That's mastery. That's how you train emotional separation. That's how you turn chaos into control. Feel it, don't follow it. Listen, feelings are powerful. They'll make you fall in love. They'll make you quit your job. They'll make you chase comfort and call it destiny. They'll make you abandon discipline and call it self-care. That's what happens when you mistake emotion for truth. But when you learn to pause, when you learn to question, when you learn to respond instead of react, you become unstoppable. Because now you're living from principle, not from mood. You're building your life from choice, not from impulse. You're creating stability in a world built on noise. That's the goal. Not to stop feeling, but to stop following. Here's a mental exercise for you. Whenever a strong emotion hits, imagine a red light in your mind. Stop. Say out loud, feel it, don't follow it. Then breathe. Let the emotion flow through you, not into you. Don't act, don't post, don't decide. Just breathe. The longer you wait, the clearer you'll see. Because emotion clouds judgment. Time restores perspective. And when your mind clears, your discipline takes over. That's how you win. So here's the truth you must carry. You will always feel. You will always have emotions. But you don't have to obey them. You are not your feelings. You're the observer of them. You are not your thoughts. You're the one who decides which thoughts to believe. That's power. That's control. That's freedom. You can feel fear and still move forward. You can feel anger and still stay calm. You can feel doubt and still take the next step. That's emotional mastery. That's what separates the average from the exceptional. From now on, repeat this every time emotion rises. Feel it, don't follow it. That's your mantra. That's your discipline. That's your edge. Because feelings are fleeting, but discipline lasts forever. You've learned to separate emotion from fact. You've learned to see feelings as signals, not orders. You've learned to feel without following. And that's the beginning of control. Now that you've separated emotion from fact, it's time to learn how to direct your energy. Because every reaction, every emotion, every thought costs you something. You've built control. Now let's protect your power. Next chapter, energy is currency. Protect it. Would you like me to continue writing Chapter 3, Energy is Currency, Protect It, in the same audiobook script format, approximately 1,000 words?
Absolutely. Here's your complete, full-length audiobook script for Chapter 3, Energy is Currency, Protect It. Approximately 1,050 words. Powerful, authoritative, and transformational coaching tone. Chapter 3, Energy is Currency, Protect It. Repetition phrase. Protect your energy like money. Your energy is your most valuable currency. More than money, more than time. Because without energy, you can't use either. You can have all the time in the world, but if you wake up drained, distracted, and defeated, you'll do nothing with it. You can have all the opportunities in front of you, but if your energy is fractured, scattered between stress, gossip, and reaction, you'll lose it all. Listen carefully. Every reaction costs you. Every argument, every distraction, every emotional outburst. It's not free. It's an energy withdrawal. And if you keep spending your mental balance on nonsense, you'll go bankrupt. That's the truth. That's the part no one tells you. You think burnout happens because you're working too hard? No. Burnout happens because you're caring too much about the wrong things. You're emotionally invested in everything, in people who drain you, opinions that don't matter, and problems that aren't yours.
You're broke, not financially, but energetically. Protect your energy like money. That's the key. That's the key. Think about it. You check your bank account. You know every dollar that leaves. You track your expenses. You budget your bills. But your energy, you give it away like it's endless. You hand it to strangers on the internet. You waste it in arguments that lead nowhere. You let it leak through comparison, jealousy, or outrage. And then you wonder why you feel empty. You wouldn't let someone steal money from your wallet, so why do you let them steal your peace from your mind? Protect your energy like money. Every reaction spends energy. That's the law. Every time you get pulled into drama, energy spent. Every time you overthink what someone said, energy spent. Every time you replay a moment that hurt you, energy spent. And the problem isn't that you don't have enough energy. The problem is you don't manage it. You give it away, you waste it, you overspend it. It's not about working harder, it's about spending wiser. The most disciplined people in the world aren't the busiest, they're the most selective. They choose what deserves their energy. They don't react to everything. They don't attend every argument they're invited to. They protect their energy like an investor protects capital. That's the difference between exhaustion and execution. Let's make it real. Imagine your energy like a daily deposit. You wake up with $100 mental dollars. Scrolling through negativity, -20. Overthinking a text, -10. Arguing with someone who won't change, -30. Trying to impress people who don't care, -25. And by noon, you're broke. You have nothing left for your goals, your growth, your purpose. But imagine if you flipped it. Morning meditation, +10. Workout, +20. Focused work without distractions, +40. Gratitude instead of gossip, +15. Now you're building wealth, energetic wealth. Because you're not just saving energy, you're multiplying it. Protect your energy like money. That's how you build peace. Here's what you need to understand. Every argument is a transaction. Every distraction is a withdrawal. When you engage in gossip, you're trading your focus for someone else's chaos. When you react to every insult, you're trading your power for their attention. When you try to fix people who don't want change, you're investing in loss. Stop making bad emotional investments. Stop funding other people's dysfunction with your energy. That's not compassion. That's self-destruction. You don't owe anyone your reaction. You don't owe anyone your peace. You don't owe anyone an explanation. You have limited energy. Spend it wisely. This is where emotional control meets mental discipline. Controlling your energy is not about isolation. It's about prioritization. You're not being cold. You're being clear. You're not being distant. You're being decisive. You're deciding what deserves a response and what deserves silence. Because silence is the most powerful form of energy conservation there is. It doesn't mean you don't care. It means you've learned the value of not reacting. You can't control every event, but you can control your expenditure. And that's the difference between chaos and composure. The people who drain you will always test your boundary. They'll pull you into gossip, drama, and emotional warfare. They'll say, "You've changed." Yes, you have. You've changed how you spend your energy. They'll call it arrogance. You'll call it awareness. They'll call it distance. You'll call it discipline. Because the truth is, you can't elevate if you're constantly reacting. You can't grow if you're constantly defending. You can't create peace if you're constantly fighting. So stop engaging with noise. Stop entertaining low-energy environments. Stop feeding what depletes you. Protect your energy like money. Here's how you do it. Step 1. Audit your energy leak. Who drains you? What triggers you? What distracts you? Write it down. Awareness is the first defense. Step 2. Set boundaries. Stop explaining your no. Stop apologizing for being unavailable. Boundaries don't make you harsh. They make you stable. Step 3. Invest your energy intentionally. Focus it on what builds you, not what breaks you. Your health, your craft, your vision, your growth. Energy invested in purpose creates momentum. Energy wasted on drama creates fatigue. That's the trade-off. You have to stop seeing your energy as infinite. It's not. You only get so much each day, and how you spend it determines the quality of your life. That's why some people look alive, while others look drained. It's not luck, it's discipline. They protect their energy. They don't argue for free. They don't chase validation. They don't explain to people who don't listen. They understand focus is expensive, peace is expensive, growth is expensive, and they're willing to pay the price. You have a choice. You can spend your energy reacting or invest it creating. You can waste it on validation or use it for transformation. That's the choice that defines every strong mind. Not how much energy you have, but how wisely you use it. So, from this moment forward, manage your energy like your survival depends on it. Because it does. Protect your peace. Guard your focus. Spend your energy only where it multiplies. Protect your energy like money. You've learned the value of conserving energy, not wasting it on noise, ego, or reaction. You've learned to protect your peace like your paycheck. You've learned that emotional control is energetic wealth. Now it's time to build something stronger, not just energy, but boundaries that hold under pressure. You've learned to protect what's yours. Now let's learn how to detach from what's not. Next chapter, detachment is power. Would you like me to continue and write chapter 4, Detachment is Power, in the same 1,000-word cinematic audiobook tone next?
Absolutely. Here's your full-length audiobook script for Chapter 4, Detachment is Power. Approximately 1,000 words, authoritative, powerful, and transformative tone. Chapter 4, Detachment is Power. Repetition phrase. It's not coldness, it's clarity. You want peace? You want power? You want emotional control that no one can shake? Then you have to master detachment. Because the truth is, the more attached you are to outcomes, opinions, and validation, the easier it is for the world to control you. They pull one emotional string, and you react. They withhold approval, and you spiral. They criticize you, and your whole day collapses. That's not strength. That's slavery to emotion. Detachment frees you from that. Detachment is not about not caring. It's about caring without collapsing. It's not about being heartless. It's about being clear. It's not coldness. It's clarity. That's the key. When you detach, you stop chasing control over what you can't control. You stop begging for peace from people who create chaos. You stop reacting to noise because you've learned to rise above it. That's real power, not the loud kind, the silent kind. The kind that can walk away without anger. The kind that can listen without reacting. The kind that can lose something and still stay centered. It's not coldness, it's clarity. Let's be clear about what detachment isn't. Detachment doesn't mean isolation. It doesn't mean shutting down your heart or cutting off emotion. It means you no longer let emotion make your decisions for you. It means you can feel deeply, but act wisely. You can love without losing yourself. You can care without being consumed. That's strength under control. That's emotional maturity. The world glorifies reaction. Social media rewards outrage. Everyone's addicted to being triggered. But you're learning to pause, to breathe, to step back. Because the one who can step back wins. It's not coldness, it's clarity. Let's talk about something powerful, emotional fasting. Just like your body needs rest from food, your emotions need rest from constant reaction. So when something hits you, a message, an insult, or a disappointment, don't react. Pause. Wait. Fast. Give it 24 hours. That's emotional fasting.
A 24-hour pause before reacting to strong emotions. You don't respond. You don't explain. You don't defend. You let the storm pass. Because storms always pass. The purpose isn't to ignore emotion, it's to observe it. You watch the feeling rise, peak, and fade without letting it drive you. That's detachment in action. You're training yourself to respond, not react. You're mastering the gap between trigger and action. And in that gap, that's where your power lives. Most people live in the reaction. You're learning to live in the gap. That's control. That's discipline. That's detachment. You have a choice. You can keep reacting to everything, or you can start observing everything. The difference? The observer stays calm. The reactor stays exhausted. Observation gives you perspective. Reaction steals it. When you detach, you start to see, really see. You see who's draining your energy. You see which problems are real and which are distractions. You see that not every battle needs a warrior. Some just need silence. You stop asking, why did they do this to me? And start asking, why did I allow it to affect me? That's evolution. It's not coldness, it's clarity. Here's the truth. Most of what drains you emotionally doesn't deserve your energy. It only gets it because you keep feeding it. Every argument, every overreaction, every sleepless night replaying words, that's attachment. That's your peace leaking out. When you detach, you stop trying to control outcomes. You stop chasing people who've already left. You stop forcing things that aren't meant for you. You start letting go, not with bitterness, but with understanding. Because you realize you can't lose what was never aligned. You can't control what was never yours. You can't grow if you're clinging. That's the paradox. The moment you stop grasping, you start receiving. It's not coldness, it's clarity. So let's make it practical. Here's how to train detachment day by day, choice by choice. Step 1. Pause before you react. When something triggers you, breathe. Say nothing. Do nothing. Let the first wave of emotion pass. Remember, emotional fasting. Step 2. Observe without judgment. Label the feeling, but don't become it. I feel anger. I feel jealousy. I feel fear. Notice how you're feeling, but don't let it define you. You are not your emotions. You are the awareness behind them. Step 3. Release control. Say it out loud. I don't control everything. Say it again until it sinks in. Because peace begins the moment you stop trying to control what's uncontrollable. Step 4. Protect your distance. Distance doesn't destroy connection, it reveals it. The people who truly value you won't need constant access to you. The people who manipulate you will. That's how you see clearly. When you detach, you rise. You rise above drama. You rise above manipulation. You rise above your own impulsive mind. You stop being dragged into every emotional storm. You become the calm in the chaos. That's what real confidence feels like. Not loud, not showy, not defensive, just unshakable. You stop chasing closure. You stop seeking validation. You stop needing to prove your worth. Because you've realized peace doesn't come from control. It comes from clarity. It's not coldness, it's clarity. Remember this. People will misunderstand your detachment. They'll call you distant, arrogant, emotionless. Let them. They only see what they can't control. Your silence threatens their chaos. Your calm reveals their noise. Don't explain yourself. Don't defend your peace. You don't need their permission to evolve. You're not pulling away. You're rising above. You're not rejecting them. You're protecting you. That's detachment. That's maturity. That's real power. You have a choice every day. You can chase emotions or you can command them. You can live in reaction or you can live in control. You can care but not collapse. You can feel but not fall apart. You can connect but not cling. That's detachment. That's balance. That's freedom. It's not coldness, it's clarity. You've learned to protect your energy. Now you've learned to detach, to see clearly, feel deeply, and act calmly. You've learned to pause, not react, to breathe, not break, to release, not chase. That's power most people never master. Now it's time to go deeper. Because power without control is dangerous. The next step is learning the art of stillness, the discipline of silence when the world demands noise. You've learned detachment. Now let's master composure. Next chapter, the discipline of silence. Would you like me to continue and write chapter 5, the discipline of silence next, keeping the same 1,000-word cinematic audiobook flow?
Absolutely. Here's your complete full-length audiobook script for Chapter 5, Silence is Strength. 1,050 words. Tough love, direct, and deeply transformative tone. Written for a YouTube audiobook. Chapter 5, Silence is Strength. Repetition phrase. The loud lose, the calm conquer. In a world obsessed with noise, silence has become your greatest weapon. Everyone talks. Few listen. Everyone reacts. Few remain composed. But here's the truth. The one who stays silent in chaos owns the room. Because silence isn't weakness. It's control. It's presence. It's power. The loud lose. The calm conquer. Most people think power comes from words, from winning arguments, from proving points, from shouting the loudest. They don't understand that silence commands more respect than noise ever will. When you stay silent, you force others to reveal themselves. You let their emotion expose their insecurity. You let their overreaction expose their lack of control. That's silent dominance. It's not about shutting up. It's about showing up with composure so powerful you don't need to speak. The loud lose, the calm conquer. Look at the great leaders in history. The generals, the warriors, the masters of discipline. They didn't waste words. They spoke less and acted more. Because silence creates tension, and tension creates respect. When you speak only when necessary, your words hit harder. They carry weight. They carry intent. They cut through the noise. But when you talk too much, you drain your energy. You reveal your strategy. You lose your edge. That's why silence restores dominance. It's not passive. It's precise. The loud lose, the calm conquer. Here's the secret. Silence is emotional control made visible. It's how inner peace shows itself externally. When you can stay calm while others are breaking, you become magnetic. When you can listen without needing to defend, you become respected. When you can pause while others rush to speak, you become powerful. Silence makes people uncomfortable, and that's exactly why it works. Because the weak can't stand silence. They crave validation. They need reaction. They want your energy. Your words, your emotion, your attention. When you refuse to give it, you starve their control. You win by saying nothing. The loud lose, the calm conquer. Let's talk about silent dominance. It's not just shutting your mouth. It's about mastering 3 things: tone, posture, and reaction. Tone. When you do speak, your tone is calm, low, measured. You don't raise your voice to match emotion, you lower it to control it. Your calm tone forces others to calm down. It sets the rhythm. That's control. Posture. Your silence isn't slouched or submissive. It's steady, it's upright, it's confident. You don't flinch, you don't fidget, you don't rush to fill the space. Because silence is your arena. Reaction. You don't respond to every insult. You don't explain every decision.
You don't justify every move. You let action speak. You let discipline speak. You let time speak. That's silent dominance. The loud lose, the calm conquer. You want to know why most people lose their power? Because they can't stand silence. They fill it with excuses, explanations, and emotional noise. They don't realize that every unnecessary word leaks energy. Every reaction gives control away. Every outburst tells the world exactly how to control them. But when you stay silent, no one knows your next move. No one knows if you're angry, unaffected, or planning your next step. And that uncertainty, that mystery, is power. Silence keeps you unpredictable, and unpredictability commands respect. The loud lose, the calm conquer. Think about it. When you argue back, you're playing their game. When you explain yourself, you're seeking approval. When you overreact, you're confirming their control. But when you stay silent, you end the game. You don't feed the fire. You make them burn out on their own. Silence isn't surrender. It's strategy. You choose your words like currency. You spend them only when they'll earn something. Otherwise, you hold them. Because every word has energy. And you don't waste energy on noise. The loud lose, the calm conquer. Let's make this practical. Here's how to build silence into your power system. Step 1. Stop explaining. You don't owe everyone a reason for your choices. When you over-explain, you dilute authority. Let your actions speak louder than your defense. Step 2. Use silence as a reset. When tension rises, don't react. Pause. Count to 5 in your mind. Observe. Let everyone else lose their cool while you stay grounded. That pause separates you from the masses. Step 3. Master your face. Control your micro-reactions. No rolling eyes, no smirks, no sighs. Train your face to remain calm under chaos. That's discipline at the highest level. Step 4. Speak last. In meetings, arguments, or negotiations, wait. Let everyone talk. Listen, then speak. The one who speaks last always sounds like the leader. That's how silence becomes dominance. The loud lose, the calm conquer. You don't have to shout to be heard. You don't have to defend to be understood. You don't have to argue to prove your worth. Let them talk. Let them underestimate you. Let them assume your silence is weakness. Because when it's time to move, they'll see. They'll see that silence wasn't fear. It was focus. It was preparation. It was power under control. The loud lose, the calm conquer. Every great warrior knows this truth. Noise is the weapon of the insecure. Stillness is the weapon of the strong. When the battle starts, the loudest ones swing wildly. They burn out fast. But the silent one, the focused one, watches, waits, strikes once, ends it. That's composure. That's control. That's power. The loud lose, the calm conquer. From now on, protect your silence. Don't waste it. Don't fill it just because it feels uncomfortable. Silence is your armor. Silence is your strategy. Silence is your signal to yourself that you are in control. Remember, when you can stay calm while others panic, you win. When you can stay silent while others beg for attention, you win. When you can stay composed while others crumble, you win. Because power doesn't need to prove itself. It just needs to be. The loud lose, the calm conquer. You've now learned the art of silence, how to lead without noise, how to command without shouting, and how to win without fighting. But silence isn't the end. It's the bridge to something deeper. Because once you master silence, you uncover the next level, stillness. Stillness isn't just silence on the outside. It's peace on the inside. You've learned how to stay calm on the surface. Now it's time to learn how to stay still within. Next chapter, the calm within the storm. Would you like me to write Chapter 6, The Calm Within the Storm, next? Same tone, 1,000-word audiobook format?
Absolutely. Here's your complete audiobook script for Chapter 6, Control the Inner Dialogue. 1,050 words, 7 to 9 minutes of spoken audio, authoritative and transformative tone. Chapter 6, Control the Inner Dialogue. Reprogram your thoughts, reclaim your power. Let's get this straight. The loudest voice in your life is not your boss, your partner, or your critics. It's the one in your head. That voice narrates every moment. It shapes every decision. It defines how you see yourself and how you respond to the world. You can't escape it. You can only train it. If you don't control your inner dialogue, it will control you. If you don't master your thoughts, they'll master your emotions. That's the truth. Reprogram your thoughts, reclaim your power. Every day, most people lose battles that never even happen, battles inside their own minds. They wake up already fighting self-doubt, fear, and anxiety. Not because the world defeated them, but because their own voice did. They say to themselves, "I'm tired. I can't. This is too hard." And then they wonder why life feels heavy. Here's the harsh truth. Your mind listens to everything you say. Every word you think is an instruction. Your brain doesn't argue, it obeys. If you say, "I'm broken," it looks for evidence to prove it. If you say, "I can't," it shuts down creativity. If you say, "I'll try," it already assumes failure is acceptable. You must reprogram the code. You must rewrite the script. Reprogram your thoughts, reclaim your power. Every day, most people lose battles that never even happen, battles inside their own minds. They wake up already fighting self-doubt, fear, and anxiety. Not because the world defeated them, but because their own voice did. They say to themselves, "I'm tired. I can't. This is too hard." And then they wonder why life feels heavy. Here's the harsh truth. Your mind listens to everything you say. Every word you think is an instruction. Your brain doesn't argue, it obeys. If you say, "I'm broken," it looks for evidence to prove it. If you say, "I can't," it shuts down creativity. If you say, "I'll try," it already assumes failure is acceptable. You must reprogram the code. You must rewrite the script. Reprogram your thoughts, reclaim your power. Every day, most people lose battles that never even happen, battles inside their own minds. They wake up already fighting self-doubt, fear, and anxiety. Not because the world defeated them, but because their own voice did. They say to themselves, "I'm tired. I can't. This is too hard." And then they wonder why life feels heavy. Here's the harsh truth. Your mind listens to everything you say. Every word you think is an instruction. Your brain doesn't argue, it obeys. If you say, "I'm broken," it looks for evidence to prove it. If you say, "I can't," it shuts down creativity. If you say, "I'll try," it already assumes failure is acceptable. You must reprogram the code. You must rewrite the script. Reprogram your thoughts, reclaim your power. You have to start catching the language of weakness before it becomes your lifestyle. Words like maybe, someday, I wish, they sound small, but they carry weight. They are mental leaks. They drain discipline. They feed doubt. The disciplined mind replaces those words with power statements. I will. I'm doing it. It's done. That's not arrogance. That's programming. And programming is power. Because emotional control starts with mental language. Change your words and your emotions follow. Here's the key. Your inner dialogue is not you. It's a voice that learned from your past, from trauma, from conditioning, from fear. It echoes every criticism you've ever heard, every failure you never forgave. That voice was built by repetition, which means you can rebuild it the same way, through repetition. You rewire your brain by what you feed it daily. Your self-talk is training your emotional state every second. So ask yourself,
Are you training weakness or strength? Are you feeding doubt or discipline? Because the voice you repeat becomes the life you live. Reprogram your thoughts, reclaim your power. Let's talk about reframing. This is how you turn emotional chaos into control. Most people live in the question, why me? Why did this happen? Why do I feel this way? Why can't things be easier? That question feeds helplessness. It builds emotional paralysis. It makes you the victim of your thoughts. Reframe it. Turn why me into what now? What now puts power back in your hands? What now forces you to move forward? What now transforms pain into purpose? That's the difference between staying stuck and rising strong. Why me drains you. What now trains you. Reprogram your thoughts, reclaim your power. You can't control what happens, but you can always call it what you call it. Words define perception, and perception defines peace. You can call it rejection, or you can call it redirection. You can call it failure, or you can call it feedback. You can call it the end, or you can call it the beginning. The situation doesn't change. The label does. And when you change the label, you change your emotions. That's mental leadership. That's emotional mastery. Here's a truth most people don't want to hear. You don't have to believe everything you think. You can challenge your thoughts. You can question your emotions. You can say, that's not true. You can say, that thought doesn't serve me. You can say, that's fear talking, not fact. The disciplined mind interrogates its own noise. It doesn't take every thought personally. It filters, it audits, it edits. That's how you take control of your inner dialogue. Because most people are slaves to their thoughts. But you're becoming the architect. Reprogram your thoughts, reclaim your power. Let's make this real. Here are 3 practices that will retrain your inner dialogue daily. Step 1. Morning command. When you wake up, before your phone, before the world, speak strength out loud. Say, I control my emotions. Say, today I move with discipline. Say, nothing external will dictate my peace. You're not chanting, you're conditioning. You're writing code for your brain to execute. Step 2. Midday reset. Every time you feel overwhelmed, pause and ask, what am I saying to myself right now? If the answer is negative, reframe it. I can't do this becomes I can handle this. This is too much becomes I'll do it one step at a time. The words you use in the storm determine whether you sink or swim. Step 3. Night review. Before you sleep, audit your thoughts. Ask yourself, did I speak power today or weakness? What story did I feed my mind? Silence the noise with gratitude and direction. End your day the same way you want tomorrow to begin, with control. You have to remember, your inner voice is programmable, and whoever controls it controls you. If fear controls it, you'll freeze. If anger controls it, you'll react. If discipline controls it, you'll rise. That's the choice. That's the key. You don't need permission to change the way you talk to yourself. You don't need validation to rewrite your story. You only need discipline. Because it's not about feeling strong, it's about thinking strong until it becomes who you are. Reprogram your thoughts, reclaim your power. When your inner dialogue becomes your ally, the world can't shake you. You stop overreacting. You stop doubting. You stop apologizing for being focused. Your thoughts become tools, not traps. Your emotions become servants, not masters. Your mind becomes quiet, clear, and controlled. That's what emotional power really looks like. Not the absence of emotion, but the ability to direct it. You become the commander, and your inner voice follows orders. Reprogram your thoughts, reclaim your power. From now on, listen to yourself like you would listen to a coach. If your words are weak, correct them. If your tone is negative, adjust it. If your focus drifts, redirect it. Every correction is progress. Every reframe is growth. Every repetition is rewiring. Because mastery isn't built in silence, it's built in dialogue. The right kind of dialogue. So start speaking power. Start thinking strength. Start commanding your inner world like a leader, not a follower. Reprogram your thoughts, reclaim your power. You've learned to control the voice inside your head, the one that shapes your emotions, your focus, your future. But emotional mastery doesn't stop there. Because once you command your thoughts, the next challenge is managing the energy behind them. You've trained the mind. Now it's time to train the flow that fuels it. Next chapter. Energy is currency. Protect it. Would you like me to continue with Chapter 7, Energy is Currency, Protect It, next, written in the same 1,000-word audiobook style?
Absolutely. Here's your full audiobook script for Chapter 7 in the same authoritative, transformative, and rhythmic tone. 1,050 words, 7 to 9 minutes of audio pacing. Chapter 7. Pressure reveals discipline. Repetition phrase, calm is your weapon. Pressure. It's not the enemy. It's the mirror. It shows you exactly who you are when everything is falling apart. You can talk discipline all day when life is easy, but when the pressure hits, that's when the truth shows up. Under stress, the emotional fold. The disciplined rise. That's the law. Everyone looks strong when the sun is shining, but watch what happens when the storm rolls in. Watch what happens when control slips away. Most people crack. They panic. They run back to comfort. But the calm, the disciplined, they stand still. They breathe. They reset. They adapt. Because they understand something powerful. Calm is your weapon. When pressure comes, you only have two options: react or respond. Reacting is emotional. Responding is controlled. Reacting is impulsive. Responding is intelligent. Reacting is weakness. Responding is discipline. That's the difference between chaos and command. You have a choice. You always have a choice. In that split second between trigger and reaction, there's a space. That space is everything. That's where power lives. You can let your emotions take over, or you can step into control. That's the key. Calm is your weapon. When you're under pressure, your body doesn't lie. Your breathing shortens, your posture collapses, your mind races. That's your nervous system screaming for leadership. And you can lead it. You can teach your body how to stay calm in chaos. Start with this. Breathe slower than the moment demands. When everything speeds up, slow down your breath. Inhale through your nose for 4 seconds. Hold for 4. Exhale through your mouth for 6. That's it. No magic, just control. You're telling your body, I'm in charge here. That one breath pattern shifts your brain from panic to presence. It flips the switch from survival to strength. You're not just breathing, you're commanding. That's discipline. That's control. That's power. Calm is your weapon. Now, let's talk posture. Most people think calm is mental, but it's physical first. Your body posture tells your brain what to feel. Slumped shoulders, your mind prepares for defeat. Tight fists, your system prepares for war. But when you square your shoulders, lift your chin, and relax your jaw, your nervous system listens. It adjusts. It stabilizes. You are literally signaling to your brain, we're safe, we're strong, we're steady. That's how warriors have trained for centuries. Posture before performance. Your body becomes the anchor that keeps your mind from drifting, because you can't think clearly when your body is screaming chaos. So next time pressure hits, don't look around. Don't talk. Don't panic. Fix your breath, fix your posture, and the mind will follow. Calm is your weapon. Pressure doesn't destroy you, it exposes your preparation. You don't rise to the occasion. You fall to the level of your training. That's why discipline exists, to build control before the chaos comes. You can't learn calm in the middle of war. You train it every day, in silence, in routine,
in the moments no one sees. That's where your emotional armor is built. When you wake up and don't feel like it, but do it anyway, you're building calm. When you hold your tongue instead of reacting, you're building calm. When you breathe through discomfort, you're building calm. You're training your body and mind to stay steady under pressure. You're programming discipline into your nervous system. That's what separates the average from the exceptional, the emotional from the elite. Calm is your weapon. Understand this: pressure doesn't change you, it reveals you. It pulls the mask off, it exposes your habits. If your default response under stress is anger, that's your training. If your default is panic, that's your pattern. And the only way to change that pattern is through awareness. You can't control what you don't recognize. So the next time you feel that surge, that spike of emotion, don't fight it. Observe it, name it, then breathe through it. That pause, that microsecond of awareness, that's discipline. That's evolution. You're no longer reacting, you're responding. That's how the strong separate themselves. Calm is your weapon. Think about elite soldiers, athletes, leaders. They all have one thing in common: they don't panic under pressure. Not because they're fearless, but because they're trained. They've rehearsed chaos so many times that calm became instinct. They mastered the art of breathing through battle. Their heart rate spikes, but their focus stays steady. Their environment shakes, but their mind stays anchored. That's not talent, that's repetition. That's discipline under pressure. They learned that panic is loud, but power is quiet. They learned that the calm mind doesn't break, it sharpens. That's your mission now. Calm is your weapon. You see, true toughness isn't noise. It's not aggression. It's composure. The loudest person in the room usually feels the weakest. The calm one, the silent one, that's the threat. Because when you're calm, you're unpredictable. You're in control. You don't telegraph emotion. You don't give energy to chaos. That's silent dominance. That's control disguised as stillness. The emotional react. The disciplined breathe. You don't need to prove your strength through volume. You prove it through restraint. You prove it through presence. Because control, real control, is invisible until pressure hits. Calm is your weapon. Let's be practical. When the pressure shows up in your life, remember this 3-step formula. Step 1. Breathe before you act. That's your command center. Don't speak. Don't move. Breathe. Create that microsecond gap between trigger and reaction. That's where power lives. Step 2. Ground physically. Plant your feet. Straighten your spine. Relax your face. Own your space. Your body informs your mind. Step 3. Speak last. Move smart. Don't rush to respond. Wait. Watch. Then act with precision. Because control is not delay, it's direction. That's how the disciplined win. That's how they lead under fire. Calm is your weapon. You must remember, the storm doesn't make you strong. It shows you how strong you already are. Pressure will visit you. It will test your patience. It will expose your limits. But every time you breathe through it, you expand those limits. Every time you remain composed, you become untouchable. Because no one can intimidate a calm mind. No one can manipulate someone who doesn't react. No one can break a person who already leads his inner world. That's the essence of discipline under pressure. Calm isn't weakness. Calm is command. Calm is clarity. Calm is power. Calm is your weapon. You faced the storm and you didn't break. You've learned that under pressure, emotion is the enemy and breath is the ally. You've trained your calm, your most powerful weapon. But now it's time to take that composure and direct it. Because discipline doesn't just survive pressure, it thrives through focus. You've controlled the storm within. Now let's master the power of direction. Next chapter, Chapter 8, Focus is freedom. Would you like me to write Chapter 8, Focus is Freedom, next in the same high-impact 1,000-word audiobook tone and pacing?
Absolutely. Here's your full audiobook script for Chapter 8, written in the signature commanding, disciplined, and high-impact tone your listeners expect. 1,050 words, 7 to 9 minutes of spoken pacing. Chapter 8, The Strategic Pause. Repetition phrase. You don't need to react fast. You need to respond right. Everyone wants to move fast. Everyone wants to speak first. Everyone wants to do something the moment pressure hits. But the strong know something the emotional never learn. Power lives in the pause. The world teaches you to move quick. Discipline teaches you to move right. You don't need to react fast. You need to respond right. That's the difference between chaos and control, between noise and precision, between losing your power and owning it. Think about it. Every mistake you've ever made under stress started because you moved too soon. You spoke before you thought. You acted before you breathed. You reacted before you observed. And that's what emotional people do. They confuse speed with strength. But strength isn't about how fast you move. It's about how still you can be before you move. You have to master the art of the strategic pause. That's where clarity lives. That's where leadership begins. That's where discipline separates itself from emotion. You don't need to react fast. You need to respond right. There's a moment, a small, invisible space between what happens to you and what you do about it. That's your battlefield. Someone insults you. Pause. Someone challenges you. Pause. Something goes wrong. Pause. Not because you're weak, but because you're calculating. You're not ignoring it. You're studying it. The emotional react out of impulse. The disciplined respond out of intelligence. That's the key. In that short pause, that fraction of a second, you take control of the entire situation. Because most people give their power away by moving first. But the one who pauses owns the frame. The one who waits controls the direction. That's real control. You don't need to react fast. You need to respond right. Look at the elite. The highest performers in every field, they all use the pause. A sniper doesn't pull the trigger when he feels ready. He waits for alignment. One breath too soon and the shot is wasted. A negotiator doesn't fill silence with words. They use silence as a weapon. They know the first person to speak loses leverage. A CEO doesn't react to panic in the market. They observe, analyze, then strike with precision. Because one emotional decision can destroy years of progress. That's not laziness. That's not fear. That's strategy. The pause is the difference between emotional noise and intelligent execution. You don't need to react fast. You need to respond right. You must train this habit until it becomes instinct. The world will try to rush you. People will push for quick answers. Your emotions will scream for reaction. Don't move. Breathe. Because the pause isn't hesitation, it's preparation. It's the space where logic catches up to emotion, where your higher self replaces your reactive self, where you move from chaos to command. Every strong leader, every calm warrior, every emotionally intelligent person, they've mastered this micro moment. They've learned to stretch time. They've learned to breathe while others panic. They've learned that stillness under pressure is dominance. You don't need to react fast. You need to respond right. Let's make this practical. There's a tool I call the 3-second rule.
Whenever emotion hits, take 3 seconds before you respond. That's it. Someone criticizes you, 3 seconds. Someone cuts you off in traffic, 3 seconds. You get a message that triggers you, 3 seconds. Don't type, don't talk, don't move. Just breathe, observe, and decide. In those 3 seconds, your brain shifts from emotional impulse to strategic awareness. You move from being driven by reaction to driving the reaction. That's real discipline. That's emotional maturity in motion. Because the goal isn't to move fast, it's to move right. Here's what happens biologically when you pause. Your amygdala, the emotion center, triggers panic. It floods you with adrenaline. It wants immediate release through reaction. But when you pause, even for 3 seconds, your prefrontal cortex, the rational brain, reactivates. It gives you options. It creates space for reason. That's why calm feels powerful, because it literally brings your intelligence back online. Your brain chemistry obeys discipline. The pause isn't just mental, it's neurological armor. You're not just thinking clearer, you're taking back control of your body's operating system. You don't need to react fast, you need to respond right. Think about this in real life. You're in an argument and the other person is shouting. They're emotional, they're impulsive, they want a reaction. But you stay quiet, you breathe, you wait. The silence burns them more than words ever could, because silence signals control. You're not avoiding the fight, you're choosing the battlefield. That's leadership. That's power. That's discipline. The loud lose. The calm conquer. You don't need to react fast. You need to respond right. This applies to every area of life. In business, delay your decisions until your mind is neutral. In relationships, never speak from emotion you'll regret later. In self-talk, don't believe every thought that bursts out of fear or frustration, because the first thought is emotional. The second thought is strategic. Learn to wait for the second thought. That's wisdom. That's maturity. And it's a practice, not a talent. You train it daily. When you feel the urge to reply instantly, pause. When you feel anger rising, pause. When life demands speed, pause anyway. That's your reset button. That's your weapon. You don't need to react fast. You need to respond right. Now understand this. The pause isn't inaction. It's intelligent delay. It's the difference between emotional survival and strategic success. It's the difference between the impulsive and the unstoppable. The pause doesn't make you passive. It makes you precise. You're still moving, but on your terms. You're still responding, but with your control. That's the mindset of emotional mastery. That's the discipline that wins under pressure. You don't need to react fast. You need to respond right. So from now on, build this reflex. When you feel the heat, pause. When you feel pressure, pause. When emotion grabs you, pause. Because every second of pause is a second of power. Every breath of silence is a moment of strategy. Every act of restraint is proof of mastery. Power doesn't come from speed. It comes from stillness. It comes from composure. It comes from the discipline to wait until emotion passes and truth speaks. You don't need to react fast. You need to respond right. You've learned that silence isn't weakness, it's wisdom. You've learned that the pause is not the absence of power, it is power. You've learned that control doesn't come from reaction, it comes from deliberate, disciplined timing. You've mastered the art of the strategic pause. But now, what happens after the pause? Once you're calm, once you're centered, what do you focus on? Because control without direction is wasted energy. You've learned to pause. Now it's time to point that stillness towards precision. Next chapter. Chapter 9. Focus is freedom. Would you like me to continue with Chapter 9, Focus is Freedom, next, keeping the same 1,000-word tough love audiobook tone and repetition rhythm?
Absolutely. Here's your full authoritative audiobook script for Chapter 9, Move in Silence, Win in Public. Repetition phrase. They don't need to know, they'll see. Silence is power. In a world that rewards noise, your quiet will confuse them. And that's exactly the point. Everyone wants to show progress. Everyone wants to prove they're grinding. Everyone wants validation before result. But emotional control, real control, includes restraint. The disciplined don't announce their moves. They execute their moves. You don't owe the world updates. You owe yourself result. They don't need to know. They'll see. When you tell everyone your plans, you open the door for noise, opinions, and judgment. And the truth is, most people don't want you to win. They just want to monitor your progress. That's why silence is sacred. It's protection. It's preservation. You don't need applause to stay consistent. You don't need an audience to grow. You don't need external approval for internal evolution. That's the key. They don't need to know, they'll see. Look around. Every great builder, every world-class performer, every legend you admire, they all share one trait. They built in silence. Think about it. Steve Jobs didn't live stream the iPhone. He disappeared, worked, and then changed the world. Kobe Bryant didn't post every practice session. He worked in the dark so he could shine under pressure. Michael Jordan didn't tweet about his mindset. He let his performance speak. Because greatness doesn't announce itself, it reveals itself. You want to shock the world? Then stop talking. Start building. They don't need to know, they'll see. Most people are addicted to showing progress instead of making it. They confuse attention for achievement. They think if people are watching, they must be winning. But attention is not success. Likes are not legacy. Validation is not victory. Silence doesn't mean you're hiding. It means you're focused. While they post about potential, you're building power. While they talk about goals, you're executing steps. While they share dreams, you're living discipline. That's the difference between emotional and elite. You're not chasing noise. You're cultivating result. They don't need to know. They'll see. Here's a truth you must learn early. The more people know about your process, the more they can influence it. The moment you announce your goals, you invite opinions, and opinions kill focus. Because when people know what you're working on, they feel entitled to comment. They'll question your pace. They'll doubt your method. They'll plant insecurity in your mind. And suddenly, your energy shifts from execution to explanation. You start performing for them instead of for yourself. That's how progress dies. Death by validation. So protect your vision like a secret mission. Keep your goals private until they're complete. That's emotional control at the highest level. Silence as self-defense. They don't need to know. They'll see. When you move in silence, you build something powerful. Momentum. Momentum grows best when no one's watching. Because when no one's watching, there's no pressure to perform. You can fail quietly.
You can adjust privately. You can grow without judgment. That's how mastery happens, behind closed doors, in quiet hours, when the crowd is asleep. The greatest version of you is built when no one's paying attention. And that's why discipline thrives in silence. Noise distracts. Attention distorts. But silence sharpens. They don't need to know. They'll see. When you move in silence, people underestimate you. Good. Let them. Let them sleep on your discipline. Let them misread your calm. Because while they're distracted by noise, you're crafting precision. You're studying. You're refining. You're stacking quiet wins that nobody sees until it's too late. And when your moment comes, when you walk into the spotlight, it won't be hype that brings you there. It'll be habits. You won't need to prove anything. You'll be the proof. They don't need to know. They'll see. There's a reason the disciplined are misunderstood. Silence makes the loud insecure. When you don't reveal your emotions, they call you distant. When you don't post your progress, they call you mysterious. When you don't explain your moves, they call you arrogant. But that's just projection. They can't understand peace without noise. They can't respect progress without proof. Let them talk. Let them assume. Let them fill in the blanks. While they waste words, you build results. Because silence doesn't need defense. Success speaks for itself. They don't need to know. They'll see. Protect your energy. Protect your vision. Protect your process. Not everyone deserves access to your becoming. Not everyone should know what stage you're in. Some people only appear to sabotage, criticize, or compare. That's why quiet work is sacred work. Because when no one sees your grind, no one can sabotage it. That's emotional intelligence in motion. Restraint disguised as confidence. That's how you grow in peace and show up in power. They don't need to know. They'll see. Here's the transformation. When you stop talking about progress, you start making it. When you stop seeking approval, you start gaining control. When you stop explaining, you start executing. And when you move in silence long enough, results start making the noise for you. That's the shift. That's the evolution. You're not chasing validation anymore. You're building something that doesn't need explanation. You're moving in silence. You're winning in public. They don't need to know. They'll see. You've learned the discipline of quiet. You've mastered the restraint of privacy. You've built your strength in the shadows where real progress happens. But there's one more level, one more test of mastery. Now that you've learned to stay silent, you must learn to stay still. Because silence protects the plan, but stillness protects the mind. You've learned to move in silence. Now it's time to stay calm under chaos. Next chapter, chapter 10, the calm mind under chaos. Would you like me to continue and generate chapter 10, the calm mind under chaos next? In the same 1,000-word cinematic audiobook style with the same tight repetition pacing.
Absolutely. Here's the full, cinematic, tough love audiobook script for Chapter 10. Unmoved, unshaken, unstoppable. Repetition phrase. Feel everything. Be moved by nothing. Stillness. That's the final form of power. Not speed, not aggression, not emotion. Stillness. Because when you can feel everything and still be moved by nothing, you've won. This is the end of the storm. This is the calm within chaos. This is emotional mastery in its highest form. Feel everything. Be moved by nothing. You've trained your mind. You've mastered your reactions. You've learned silence. You've learned restraint. Now it's time to embody the state every warrior chases. Centered aggression. That's the balance. Calm mind, focused execution, ruthless discipline. No noise. The world wants you reactive. They want you triggered. They want you emotional, off-center, spinning in circles trying to prove something. But you're done with that because the disciplined mind doesn't get pulled. It pulls everything into alignment. You have a choice every single day to be swayed by emotion or anchored by discipline. Choose the anchor. Choose stillness. That's the key. Feel everything. Be moved by nothing. Stillness isn't weakness. It's control under fire. It's breathing slow when everyone else is gasping. It's speaking less when everyone else is shouting. It's thinking clearly while others drown in their own reaction. That's true toughness. When chaos hits, emotion wants to take over. Anger wants to explode. Fear wants to retreat. Doubt wants to paralyze. But the disciplined, they don't follow emotion. Emotion follows them. That's the separation. That's why the calm mind always wins. Understand this. You can't stop emotions from coming. You're human. You'll feel everything. Fear, jealousy, frustration, pain, even rage. But feeling doesn't mean moving. You can feel anger and stay still. You can feel fear and keep walking. You can feel pain and still perform. Because control isn't about what you feel. It's about what you do when you feel it. That's emotional strength. That's mental armor. Feel everything. Be moved by nothing. Here's the truth. The world will test your calm every single day. Traffic, deadlines, disrespect, disappointment. These aren't accidents. They're training. Every frustration is a test of your discipline. Every insult is a mirror for your ego. Every delay is an opportunity to practice control. The world doesn't owe you peace. You build it. And the only way to build peace is through repetition. Repetition of restraint. Repetition of pause. Repetition of stillness. You train your emotions like a soldier trains reflexes. You don't wait until chaos to start. You practice in the calm so you can perform in the storm. That's how the disciplined win. They train stillness until it becomes instinct. Let's talk about centered aggression. It's not softness. It's not passivity. It's focus with force, stillness with speed, calm with killer instinct. The most dangerous person in any room is the one who doesn't flinch, because you can't predict them. You can't pull them into your chaos. They don't fight emotionally. They move strategically. That's centered aggression. You're not fighting emotion. You're channeling it. Anger becomes energy. Fear becomes awareness. Pain becomes purpose. You use emotion. It doesn't use you. That's the difference between reaction and response. That's the essence of mastery. Feel everything. Be moved by nothing. You've probably seen it. The calm fighter in the ring. The quiet sniper before the shot. The composed leader in a crisis. They all share the same trait. Stillness in motion. Because while everyone else is panicking, they're scanning. While others freeze, they calculate. While others shout, they act. Stillness is not absence of movement. It's precision of movement. You don't need to be loud to be lethal. You don't need to be angry to be powerful. You don't need to be emotional to be effective. You just need discipline. And discipline doesn't panic. Discipline doesn't rush. Discipline doesn't crumble. Discipline remains unmoved, unshaken, unstoppable. Let's get practical. Here's how you train that stillness every day. Step 1. Breathe. Every time emotion rises, the breath is your reset button. 4 seconds in, 4 seconds hold, 4 seconds out. It sounds simple,
But it's not small. It rewires your nervous system. Step 2, observe. Don't react immediately. When emotion hits, step back mentally and watch it. Label it. This is anger. This is fear. This is ego. The moment you label it, you detach from it. You stop being the emotion and start studying it. Step 3, decide. Choose your response with clarity. Ask, what serves my mission right now? That's your compass. That's the discipline filter. That's how you move from chaos to control every single time. Feel everything. Be moved by nothing. When you start living like this, something shifts. You stop chasing balance. You become balance. You stop searching for peace. You are peace. Because stillness isn't a place you go. It's a power you carry. You'll feel anger and smile. You'll feel pain and move. You'll feel pressure and perform. Because nothing external can shake what's rooted internally. You've built yourself from discipline, not emotion, from stillness, not reaction. And that's why you can walk through storms untouched. You have to understand, emotional mastery doesn't make life easier. It makes you stronger. The chaos won't stop. The pain won't disappear. The pressure won't ease. But you'll stop being tossed by it. You'll become the calm eye of every storm. And once you reach that level, nobody can control you again. Not circumstances, not people, not emotions. Because when you're still inside, the world can scream and you won't move. That's what it means to be unmoved, unshaken, unstoppable. You started this journey reactive. You were tossed by emotion. You were drained by chaos. You were distracted by noise. But look at you now. You've built mental armor. You've mastered silence. You've earned stillness. That's evolution. Now your emotions obey you. Now your peace is yours. Now your calm is your weapon. That's not fantasy. That's training. That's the result of consistent, disciplined control. You're not emotionalist. You're emotionally mastered. You're not distant. You're in command. You're not cold. You're calm. You are unmoved. You are unshaken. You are unstoppable. Let's get practical. This is the destination, the final form of discipline. Power without noise, movement without emotion, stillness without fear. You've done the work. You've earned the peace. Now live it. Walk calmly into every storm. Speak less. React slower. Move deliberately. Lead silently. And let the world wonder how you stay so composed when everything burns around you. Because you already know the secret. Feel everything. Be moved by nothing. That's not just the lesson. That's the life. You are and will always be unmoved, unshaken, unstoppable. Would you like me to write a closing narration audiobook outro next? A cinematic 2 to 3 minute conclusion tying together all 10 chapters with a powerful final transformation message for your listeners?
You've learned what few ever master: control over yourself. You now know that feelings are not commands. You've learned that silence wins arguments, pauses prevent mistakes, and calm creates clarity. You've discovered that the disciplined don't react, they respond, they move different. You are not cold, you are clear. You are not emotionless, you are emotionally elite. From now on, every breath, every pause, every silence is your weapon. So the next time chaos comes, smile, breathe, observe. Because you are no longer ruled by emotion, you rule it. Unmoved, unshaken, unstoppable. Now go master yourself.